The heat is on, unraveling the deadly link between oil giants and extreme heat waves. In a groundbreaking revelation, a recent analysis has directly connected carbon emissions from the world's largest fossil fuel companies to dozens of deadly heat waves, marking a significant development in the ongoing legal battle to hold these corporations accountable for climate-related damages. The research, a true leap forward, reveals that emissions from just one of the 14 biggest companies were enough to cause over 50 heat waves that would have been virtually non-existent otherwise. In other words, these emissions were the direct cause of these extreme weather events. For instance, the carbon pollution from ExxonMobil's fossil fuels made 51 heat waves at least 10,000 times more likely than in a world without global heating. A statistic echoed by Saudi Aramco's emissions as well, but here's where it gets controversial. Global heating, fueled by these emissions, is not only making heat waves more frequent, but also more intense, contributing to an alarming 500,000 heat-related deaths annually. The 2021 heat wave in the Pacific Northwest of the U.S. is a stark example, with temperatures soaring almost 3 degrees Celsius higher than they would have been without the influence of climate change. The new research delves deeper, finding that the total emissions from the 180 carbon major companies included in the analysis were responsible for approximately half of the increase in heat wave intensity. The study also highlights that the 213 heat waves studied became 200 times more likely on average from 2010 to 2019 due to the climate crisis. Professor Sonja Seneviratne, a senior author of the report from ETH Zurich University in Switzerland, emphasizes the potential legal implications. Being able to trace back the contribution of these single emitters and quantify their impact could be crucial for establishing liability. Dr. Davide Ferranda, a research director at the French National Center for Scientific Research, adds, "This study connects the dots between specific climate disasters and the companies behind them. This bridge could be a game changer for holding polluters accountable through legal and policy actions." Cassidy DePaula, a spokesperson for the Make Polluters Pay campaign, puts it bluntly. "We can now directly link heat waves to specific companies like Saudi Aramco and ExxonMobil. When their emissions alone trigger heat waves that wouldn't have occurred otherwise, it's a matter of real lives lost, crops failing, and communities suffering due to corporate decisions." The International Court of Justice, the world's highest court, ruled in July that failing to prevent climate harm could result in compensation payments. Meanwhile, a German high court set a legal precedent in May, stating that fossil fuel companies could be held liable for their contribution. DePaula believes this research provides the evidence courts have been waiting for, stating, "The bill is coming due, and it's time for these polluters to pay for the damage they've caused." The research, published in the journal Nature, utilized a type of analysis called attribution. This method compares the current hotter world with the pre-fossil fuel burning era to assess the impact of emissions on temperature rise. Weather data and computer models were used to quantify the role of emissions in driving up temperatures. The scientists first determined how each carbon major's emissions contributed to temperature rise, and then assessed how these higher temperatures increased the likelihood of heat waves. While previous research has linked hundreds of individual events to global heating, this study is the first to systematically analyze a series of events, providing a comprehensive understanding of the impact of carbon emissions on heat waves. Dr. Jan Quilkyle, the lead author of the study from ETH Zurich, emphasizes, "Climate change has made each of the 213 heat waves more likely and more intense, and the situation has worsened over time." The research found that the average intensity of heat waves increased from 1.4 degrees Celsius in 2019 to 2.2 degrees Celsius in 2020-23. These 213 major heat waves occurred from 2000 to 2023 and affected every continent. However, due to a lack of reporting in suitable weather data, Africa and South America were significantly underrepresented in the study. Dr. Friederike Otto from Imperial College London cautions, "The study's findings likely underestimate the true scale of these events, and the real consequences are probably far greater." Even the emissions from the fossil fuel companies at the bottom of the carbon major list had a significant impact on heat waves. The carbon pollution from each of these companies caused 16 heat waves to become at least 10,000 times more likely than before the climate crisis. Dr. Carsten Haustein from the University of Leipzig in Germany, not part of the study team, believes this study is a leap forward that could support future climate lawsuits. It also serves as a reminder that denial and anti-science rhetoric won't make climate liability disappear. While carbon emissions are emitted when people use oil, gas, or coal for heating or transport, Quilcai highlights the particular responsibility of fossil fuel companies. These companies have prioritized profit over the well-being of the planet, engaging in disinformation and lobbying campaigns despite knowing the consequences of burning fossil fuels since the 1980s. However, as Professor Michael Jared and Dr. Jessica Wentz from the Sabin Center for Climate Change Law at Columbia University point out, no polluter has yet been held accountable in court, and challenges remain. In a commentary in Nature, they discuss the various legal issues that must be resolved before scientists can testify in court, including determining the appropriate courts to hear these cases, establishing liability for fossil fuel producers regarding their customers' emissions, and addressing long-standing campaigns of deception by some fossil fuel companies. The new study is a valuable building block, but the path to actual liability for the carbon majors is still fraught with legal and evidentiary obstacles, they conclude. ExxonMobil and Saudi Aramco did not respond to requests for comment.